Dear viewers, how often do you hear about a judge who makes the internet cry? Not from fear, but from compassion. A judge whose courtroom became the most unexpected stage for viral moments that touched millions of hearts across the world. Think about it. A 96-year-old father who sped through traffic to take his son battling cancer to the hospital. And instead of punishment, he found a judge in tears, blessing him as a good man, the best of America. Or that little girl who was invited to help judge her mother's $300 parking fine and with wide eyes declared $50. Judge Frank Caprio laughed, bargained with her, and turned what could have been a cold fine into a warm family lesson on fairness. That was Frank Caprio, the judge who once said, "I don't wear a badge under my robe, I wear a heart." On August 20th, 2025, the world lost him, Judge Frank Caprio, beloved as America's nicest judge and better known online as the internet's most compassionate judge, passed away at the age of 88 after a brave battle with pancreatic cancer. His passing leaves behind a void far beyond Rhode Island, far beyond America. This was a man who turned traffic court into a place of hope, who showed the world that justice isn't just about punishment, it's about morality, humanity. Today, let's remember him. Not just as a judge, not just as a viral star, but as a boy from a poor immigrant family who grew up to become a global icon of kindness. Hello, I'm Tejas and you're watching Lokmat Times. I usually cover Maharashtra politics, infrastructure and current affairs in my role on this channel. But the story of Frank Caprio is too difficult for me to skip, so here am I. But before we begin, please do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Frank Caprio's story begins in Federal Hill, Providence, Rhode Island in 1936. If you have ever walked through that neighborhood, you know it breathes Italian immigrant history. His father, Antonio Tup Caprio, was a fruit peddler and milkman. His mother, Philomena, was the daughter of Neapolitan immigrants. The family lived in a cold water flat with no hot water, where the boys would wake up at 4 a.m. to help their father deliver milk before their school. By most accounts, it was poverty, but Frank never saw it that way. He would later say, "I had the most privileged childhood you could imagine. I had the privilege of being brought up poor." That line says everything about him. He was raised in struggle but taught to see dignity in it. His father, with just a 5th grade education, hammered one lesson into him: never forget compassion. When 12-year-old Frank said he wanted to be a lawyer, his father told him, "Good, but you can't charge poor people like us." Years later, when Frank first sat on the bench and came down hard on a woman who owed parking tickets, his father quietly reminded him, "Just because you're in power doesn't mean you use it against those who don't have any." That one sentence shaped the judge the world would come to know. Frank wasn't just book smart, he was tough. In 1953 at Central High School, he won the Rhode Island State Wrestling Championship. But his victories weren't just on mat. He became the first in his family to attend college, graduating from Providence College in 1958. While teaching American government at Hope High School, he did something most of us would crumble under. He went to law school at night, Suffolk University Law School in Boston, while working jobs to support his family. On top of that, he served in the Rhode Island Army National Guard. This wasn't a man who ever took shortcuts. Every inch of his success was earned. Frank's public service began in 1962 when he was elected to the Providence City Council at just 26. He served 6 years, ran for bigger offices, even lost some races, but he never disappeared from civic life. In 1985, he was appointed Chief Judge of the Providence Municipal Court. That's where the history changed, because most of us think of traffic court as boring, frustrating, maybe even terrifying. But in Frank's hands, it became something magical. It started small, local cable access, some cameras in the courtroom, his brother Joe producing the show. The idea was simple: record real traffic court cases. But what happened was extraordinary. People tuned in not for the fines, but for the feelings. Judge Caprio wasn't a cold bureaucrat. He was funny, warm, often emotional. Clips of him spread online, first quietly, then virally. By 2018, Caught in Providence was nationally syndicated, reaching 186 American cities. By the 2020s, clips of him were being watched in China, India, and Nigeria, anywhere the internet reached. His YouTube channel had millions of subscribers. His social media pages amassed over 27 million followers worldwide. This wasn't just entertainment, it was reassurance. In a world of harsh news and cruelty, people logged on to watch a judge remind us that kindness still existed. Judge Caprio's courtroom gave us viral gold, but more importantly, viral humanity. The 96-year-old father, for example, the clip of the man rushing to get his sick son to the doctor has been seen by tens of millions. Frank's voice broke as he blessed him. That wasn't justice, it was fatherhood recognizing fatherhood. Or the children as co-judges. Time and again, he would pull kids into the process. A 6-year-old, a shy boy, a giggly toddler, they all sat on the bench and made decisions. To them, it was fun. To us, it was proof that justice could be human, playful, even joyful. Or the honest grandma, an older woman who immediately said, "I'm guilty, judge, I won't waste your time." Instead of punishing her, Frank laughed, reduced her fine, and thanked her for her honesty. It's easy to see why people called him the nicest judge in the world. He reminded us that the law wasn't a machine, it was about people. Frank Caprio never claimed to be rewriting legal textbooks. What he did was simpler and more radical. He practiced what he called the rule of common sense. He would always ask, what's the story behind this fine? Is this single mom juggling 3 jobs? Is this veteran struggling to make ends meet? Is this father trying to keep his sick child alive? If the answer was yes, mercy often followed. He said, "The most powerful influence on my decisions was to place myself in their shoes, to hear their voice, to allow them to explain." That approach turned a small municipal court into a beacon of humanity for the world. Behind the fame, Frank was a husband, a father, and a grandfather. He married Joyce in 1965. They had 5 children, Frank Jr., David, Marissa, John, and Paul, along with grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. He would often say the secret to his long marriage was simple. Let her get her way. She is always right. That was Frank Caprio. Mix, humor, humility, and heart. Family meant everything to him. They appeared in his cooking shows, supported his work, and stood by him in his hardest battle, cancer. In December 2023, Frank announced he had pancreatic cancer. His video message was raw, unfiltered. "I know this is a long road, but I am prepared to fight." He endured chemotherapy, radiation, and the endless hospital visits. In May 2024, he rang the hospital's healing bell after completing treatment, surrounded by applause. The world cheered for him. But by August 2025, his health declined. His final social media message came from a hospital bed, frail but still hopeful. "Remember me in your prayers once more." Hours later, on August 20, 2025, at 2:15 p.m., he passed away surrounded by family. His courtroom has been renamed the Chief Judge Frank Caprio Courtroom. He published a memoir earlier this year, Compassion in the Court. He set up scholarships in his father's name so poor students could pursue law. But his real legacy isn't in plaques or books. It's in the billions of people who watched a traffic judge in Providence and felt something stir in their hearts. He proved that the internet doesn't only spread anger, it can spread kindness. He showed that power doesn't always corrupt, it can uplift. And he reminded us that even in the most ordinary places like traffic court, you can find extraordinary humanity. So here we are, saying goodbye to a man whose robe carried no badge, only a heart. Governor Dan Mackey of Rhode Island called him a treasure. Journalists across the world called him the nicest judge. But maybe the truest description came from the people who stood before him, fined or forgiven, laughing or crying. They called him fair. And that's all Frank ever wanted to be. From Lokmat times, we say this: Judge Frank Caprio was not just America's nicest judge. He was the world's nicest judge. He taught us that justice can be merciful, that strength can be gentle, and that every one of us has the power to choose compassion. His family's words sum it up best. His legacy lives on in the countless acts of kindness he inspired. May we each strive to bring a little more compassion into the world, just as he did every day. Rest in peace, Judge. The gavel has fallen for the last time, but the echo of your kindness will never fade.